What's up, gamers? This is NGG here with another collab video. Today we are going to be talking about our Super Nintendo top 3 games. We did a NES version before. We have a couple of different collaborators with us today, so I hope you give them the warmest welcome. Follow them on their channels, and let's get to their videos.
Hello everybody, Scorpio here from the CesarCade. Thank you to NGG for inviting me to be a part of today's video. And today we're talking about our favorite Super Nintendo games. And me and the Super Nintendo go way back. I still remember the day I woke up from taking a nap, going to the living room, and seeing my sister and father playing the Super Nintendo with a stack of games. And one of my favorite games from that stack was Mortal Kombat. That's right, the very first Mortal Kombat that made it to a Nintendo console, and it was the very first one. However, there's some controversy with this one because this version in particular was actually censored. That's right, all the blood and the fatalities were toned down dramatically. There was no blood at all, you were just punching sweat off each other. But for me personally, that didn't matter because I was still very young at the time, and the whole concept of violent video games wasn't really a thing that my parents wanted me to be introduced to just yet. So I had a ball playing this. This was actually probably my very first ever experience playing a fighting game, and I've been a fan of this series ever since. I really do hope that the new Mortal Kombat collection that they're making has the original Super Nintendo version included as well. Another one of my favorites on the Super Nintendo has to go to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's right, the very first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game I ever got to experience was mind-blowing to me. While I was a little upset that I couldn't play co-op with my sister in this game, being that it was a beat-em-up, this was still one of my very first beat-em-ups I ever got to experience, and to this day is still a classic. Just the music alone is so good. It's something that I just can't help but listen to on my drive into work sometimes because the soundtrack is that good. And the combat in this game is really satisfying, especially as you get to the last 2 levels where you actually take control of the Megazord. You know, being able to control all the different Power Rangers in all these different levels. What a blast the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game was. And the most recent Rita's Rewind game that just came out is a nice little throwback to some of the earlier Mighty Morphin Power Rangers games, especially this one. And last but not least, my other favorite, I don't have a physical edition for, unfortunately, because it was also included in the Cowabunga collection. That is right, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. Now I'm sure a lot of you people who've played the Super Nintendo know what I'm talking about. This game was absolutely phenomenal. And for somebody who was a huge fan of the Ninja Turtles back in the days, being able to play a beat 'em up co-op with my sister, we've probably played through this game millions of times over, and we never got tired of it. And I really do recommend, if you haven't played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time on the Super Nintendo, you owe it to yourself to pick it up. Check the Cowabunga collection because it has that, plus a whole plethora of amazing Ninja Turtle games all in one collection. So those are some of my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time. And thank you once again, Nintendo Gamer Girl, for inviting me to be a part of today's collaboration. And with that out of the way, Scorpio Caesar is on his way out. On to the next person.
Yo, what's up, NGG? What's up, gamers? Your boy Mars in the building, Lazy James, you already know. Today, doing the collab video with Gamer, we're gonna talk about our top 3 SNES games. Alright, now that's pretty simple for me. The SNES is a great system, a lot of great games. System I grew up on, so, getting it down to 3, a little bit tough, a little rough, but, your boy got it. And nobody stepped on my toes really, so I appreciate that. But anyway, let's get into this because y'all know I get long-winded. Alright, first and foremost, in no particular order, I guess. And number 3, Tetris Attacks. Now, don't let the name fool you. This ain't nothing about Tetris. It's just a game, a puzzle game, I guess. Nintendo came up and it resembles Tetris enough, but it's it's really about Yoshi. It's a puzzle game with Yoshi in it. Actually, the blocks move from the ground up. It's a very colorful game, a live game. And like when my friends would come over, even though I had the 64 there, it's like, hey man, let's go play that Tetris Attack, because we never played it while it was originally out on the SNES. We didn't find out about it until later. So every time we would come over, it's like Mario Kart 64, we got Star Fox 64, Killer Instinct 64. It's like, we've been playing these for a while. Let's go play Tetris Attacks. And then the gameplay is actually pretty good, and it's a difficult game, just like most. I think most like Nintendo, Super Nintendo games are pretty difficult. Maybe not as much as the SNES. I think they pulled off a bit. I know it has different modes, but we were mostly playing like 2-player mode, playing with your friends, trying to like get them stomped out. Put all the bricks on them. So yeah, definitely. At number 3, I don't even want to say number, but yeah, the first one that I did mention was Tetris Attack. Check out Tetris Attack. I don't think there's a way to really play it legally outside of just having it on Super Nintendo, but I think you can emulate it, and there's websites that run it. So yeah, shout out to Tetris Attack, man. Shout out to Yoshi. Almost like a standalone game. All right, let's see what we got coming in at number 2. I think I want to say Super Smash TV number 2 coming in hot. I think I was the only person that had a copy of Super Smash TV, and we would play that game. The game wouldn't turn off. Imagine you got about 8 kids sleeping over, 9 kids sleeping over. You got a bunch of stuff going on. We would turn on the Super Nintendo and just start the session of Super Smash TV. It's 2 players, so the first 2 players would get on it, and it's like a run and gun game, but it has an overview. The camera's has a over the top view. I don't know why I couldn't say that. The camera has an over the top view, right? So you're looking down. It's a quick run and gun game. It's like it comes from an arcade game originally, so that it's that type of fashion. I think like 3 continues, and then you got to start completely over type of deal, like no saving and all that. So I think I beat this game 1 time, but I mean this game would get played non-stop during sleepovers because this is the perfect multiplayer game. You share the space, but you have to beat up the room to move to the next room. It's a straight raw game. It's a straight running gun game. It's like the Commando version of movies, where like how that's a straight up just action packed movie, like all just straight guns, just straight shooting. That's that for video games. Let's be real. The game is about running and gunning. Coming in at number 1, Zombie Ate My Neighbors. That's my number 1 game that people around me know me for. Like there's people that I haven't talked to like in 3-4 years, and they'll come up to us, hey man, remember when you used to always tell me about Zombie Ate My Neighbors? And I was like, I don't remember like telling people about that, but I guess I was like subconsciously talking about Zombie Ate My Neighbors, but because I guess I tell everybody that's my favorite game, whether they're into it or not. And it's like Zombie Ate My Neighbors is pretty much like one of my top 3 games just overall. I mean, that's the 90s, right? You get all those kind of games, the whole mix of games, but I was at that point in time, I wasn't into like Zelda and like story games. Like I just wanted to like run and shoot stuff. And so of course Super Smash TV, but Zombie Ate My Neighbors was the staple. When I used to play that game a ton, we would start off with the water guns and just try to beat it every night. And we had it, I mean, shout out to our Super Nintendo, but I also had this game on Sega. That's how dedicated I was to this game. So I feel like it's a big game, but it's still like an underground cult classic. But it's one of the ones that you can play it on the Nintendo Switch. But yeah, Zombie Ate My Neighbors number 1, of course. The soundtrack the colors are just it's like a true zombie game. We didn't even used to call it Zombie Ate My Neighbors. We used to call it Zombie at My Neighbors, like zombies kicking it at the neighbor's house. You know what I'm saying? It's like, let's go play Zombie Ate My Neighbors. And of course, I didn't beat the game. It's got, I think, 55 stages. That's a game I couldn't beat it as a kid. There's no way. But anyway, let me get up out of here because I know I'm eating up the time. Shout out to Gamer, shout out to the peeps. Shout out to Rush Dog, what up? and then I'm out. Peace.
Hey everyone, my name is Divine Cummings Voice Acting, also known as Monaco97 here today, and today we're going to be going over our top 3 favorite Super Nintendo games here on Nintendo Gamer Girls channel here today. And essentially what this video is just a general overview of our favorite Super Nintendo games and just our experiences and our likes and dislikes of our favorite Super Nintendo games from least to greatest or greatest to least depending on the person and how they list their videos here. But for my example, I'm going to be going from top to bottom. But without further ado, let's get started with my favorite Super Nintendo game today here on Nintendo Gamer Girls channel here today. No, that's not a snake under your boot.
There's a snake in my boot.
And this isn't just a light bulb that blinks. This is Toy Story for the Super Nintendo. Released back in 1995. Damn, I'm old. Toy Story was Disney and Pixar's biggest hit since The Lion King, but the question still remains, how do you make a video game based on Pixar's biggest popular title at the time? I'll tell you how they did it, by adding every single gameplay archetype there could have been. Toy Story for the Super Nintendo has stealth sections, It has rescue missions, has survival horror elements. Hell, Toy Story on the Super Nintendo has its own first-person shooter Doom clone. All that being said though, Toy Story for the Super Nintendo is definitely worth having in my #1 spot for the Super Nintendo, and I wouldn't have any other game to go infinity and beyond with. Like Papa, like Son, they'll always be #1. And while they may not be #1 on this list, that doesn't stop from this game being fun and essentially a Legend of Zelda clone. Oh yes, you heard me correctly. Goof Troop for the Super Nintendo is an exact 1-to-1 recreation / copy of the original Legend of Zelda, with mechanics mainly consisting of puzzling, cooperation, understanding, but just between Goofy and Max and not Link and Zelda. Throughout this Goofy experience, you'll be solving puzzles, figuring out mysteries, and uncovering the truth, or shall I say Goof Troop,
Dad, you're scaring people.
of this mysterious island. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore / love the Goof Troop, but for this game to be an exact copy of the original Legend of Zelda, I'd much rather prefer the previous game in this video than this one copying from an already existing franchise. But hey, at least the Goof Troop exists in the same universe as Peg Pete, which if you ask me in my book, that's a win-win for a #2 spot for sure.
Dimple Buns! Okay, then here's my phone number.
Before Aladdin was exploring Agrabah with Sora, and before the genie had certain people keep his wife's name out their mouth, there was Aladdin for the Super Nintendo. Now I hate to say this, but this game isn't very complex or diverse when it comes to gameplay, mechanics, levels, and etc. So this game is pretty much straightforward to beginning to end, and without further ado, here's the explanation. Now the reason why this game is at the bottom of this list is because essentially the Aladdin for the Super Nintendo is essentially a 1-to-1 shot to the movie. Yes, it does have some original sections, yes, it has some unique boss fights and some platforming against enemies, but essentially it's just a 1-to-1 recreation of the Disney movie, so it doesn't really do too much compared to the other previous two that were kind of unique. Even if the game before this one was also another copy of a previous game, at least it was still unique and different in its own right. But compared to the Goof Troop, especially Toy Story 1, if I had to pick any game on this list, Aladdin would definitely be the last of the leaderboard when it comes to top 3 Super Nintendo games. But with that being said, thank you so much Nintendo Gamer Gal for having me a part of this collaboration video, and if you want to find me and all my social media pages, they'll be in the description at the bottom of this video. Thank you so much for having me, Nintendo Gamer Gal. On to the next person in this video.
Hey folks, Jay from Cold Nights here, and when my good friend NGG asked me what my 3 favorite SNES games were, I had to choose Jurassic Park, Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, and UN Squadron, which unfortunately I do not currently have physically, but let's get into the game. When I think back on my favorite SNES titles, the first that comes to mind is Jurassic Park. Now, this was a vastly different title than on all the other consoles, and you couldn't even save. But running around with Dr. Alan Grant smoking raptors? Awesome. The awesome Doom-like segments inside the buildings battling Dilophosaurs, and as close to 3D as we could get at the time? Awesome. Adds up to a surefire classic for me. Baseball has always been my #1 obsession. When Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball came out for the Super Nintendo, I was in awe. Awesome graphics, smooth gameplay, it absolutely blew RBI and Big Hurt Baseball out of the water. The only thing that sucked was the game lacked a Players Association license. So other than Griffey, all players had generic names. Their stats were correct though. I sat and entered in each one manually while browsing my baseball card collection, because I loved the game that much. An incredibly fun baseball game featuring my favorite player of all time, that's an instant home run. From the moment the anime intro rolled on UN Squadron, I was in love. I had never seen anything like it. Before long, I was customizing my plane and flying through the sky, saving the world with this awesome crew of pilots. There was so much customization, and so many weapon configurations and playstyles. Little did I know that this would start a lifelong obsession with arcade-style shoot-em-ups. I love games like Skyforce and Gradius. Thanks for having me on, NGG. I look forward to seeing everyone else's selections flying high.
Hello, SurgemanX here, and big shout out to NGG for allowing me to talk about 3 fantastic Super Nintendo games that I'm here to talk about today. And the first game I'm going to talk about is a beloved favorite of mine, Kirby Superstar 8 games in 1. There's a bunch of different games to play here, although they're quite on the short side, which is fine by me because it really changes up the variety when it comes to the gameplay. One of the games, you have to search for a bunch of different treasure, so it's kind of Metroidvania-like in a sense. Another game is you race against King DDD, trying to collect the most food you can before crossing the finish line. And then there's Meta Knight's Revenge, where it's more narrative-driven. Not so much, but it does have more story compared to some of the other games in Kirby Superstar. Definitely check this one out. Kirby Superstar did receive a remake on the DS, so you can also check that out as well. It has more content. Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest is a fantastic sequel to the original game. It has more variety when it comes to the environments, has new animal buddies that you can ride and check out, and the music, once again, is absolutely fantastic. This is definitely the best soundtrack out of the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. And there is no Donkey Kong. You do not play as Donkey Kong in this game, but instead you once again play as Diddy and his girlfriend, Dixie Kong. And she has a bunch of cool, unique abilities of her own. She can twirl in the air with her hair, which is pretty cool, while Diddy can cartwheel as usual. Definitely check out Donkey Kong Country 2 if you love the original, because I'm sure you'll love this game even more than the first one. Sadly, there was never a remake to this game, but the original still holds up pretty well, and the graphics are still great. Last but not least, we have one of my favorite Mega Man games, if not my favorite Super Nintendo game of all time. We have Mega Man X. This game really improves upon the Mega Man formula in big ways. The story takes place 100 years after the classic series, and now we have a brand new character, Dr. Light's final creation, Mega Man X. He is able to do more than what Mega Man can do. He can hop on walls, he can charge the Mega Buster even further with upgrades, and he can also charge special weapons too, which is really cool. Mega Man X also features the ability to get new armor pieces to really make your character feel like he's a badass by the end of the game. If you have never played any Mega Man game whatsoever, you can start with Mega Man X. This was my first Mega Man game I ever played, and this is what got me into the franchise. Thanks again to NGG for featuring me on the video. Have a good one, guys, and peace.
Hey everyone, what up? Matt Kaiser here, and thank you Nintendo Gamer Gal for allowing me to be in your club. It was an absolute pleasure. With that said, I'm going to list down some of my favorite games from the SNES. Now first up we have is Live Alive, which is a game by Squaresoft in the original 994, and this was an interesting game, and how I discovered it was actually by the remake, the HD 2D remake we got for the Nintendo Switch, as well as other consoles. And even still, despite me loving the remake, I was still fascinated by the original Super Famicom game, as the original concept as well as the execution of having different timelines with their own unique separate stories, as well as having the soundtrack being composed by one of the best composers, that being Yoko Shimomura, was absolutely fantastic. And the dialogue as well as the writing for all of these chapters were really compelling in their own right, and it's honestly a very underrated title. I think anyone who has, either Nintendo Switch, PC, or PlayStation should definitely play this remake. But if you do have a chance to find a way to play the original game, then you're more welcome to do so. As for my second pick, we of course have Trials of Mana, which is my favorite Mana game out of the original 3 that comprises of Final Fantasy Adventure and Secret of Mana. Now, obviously I played this game through the collection of Mana Trilogy, which is on the Nintendo Switch, which had basically ports of the games from their original forms, like of course FF Adventure from the Nintendo Game Boy, Color, as well as both Secret of Mana and Trials of Mana from the original Super Famicom. And Trials was my favorite given to multiple reasons. One, its breathtaking and amazing visuals on that system, just looking absolutely stunning, as well as having some really amazing improved combat over the prior 2 games, with having more of a beat 'em up style, and the charming music and just entertaining cast of characters. And while I did play the remake even afterwards and enjoyed that a lot more, I still hold the original Trials of Mana to some degree. And of course, we can't forget my number one pick, which had to be Chrono Trigger, which obviously it's one of the greatest games, let alone JRPGs of all time. And obviously, my memories of it playing it through 2 years ago from the Super Famicom was really an amazing choice. It was a really amazing, great time. I'll never forget the moments I had experiencing, from its amazing combat, to the wonderful visuals, to the beautiful soundtrack, and to the just very compelling cast of characters, and even taking aspects of, Live Alive and other Square Enix games, and fully realizing it into this masterpiece. It was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you once again, Nintendo Gamer Gal, for allowing me to be in collab, and I love to see what everyone picks are. Until then, Mad Kaiser, out.
Wow, we had such amazing picks from some of our collaborators. And now let's start with my top 3. This is gonna be top 3, and I picked 3 different franchises from the Super Nintendo because each of these are games I fell in love with, and these are my personal copies that I had from way back in the 90s. So guys, let's start with the first one, and that is Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana was one of my favorite games. It was one of the first action RPGs that I played that allowed you to play cooperatively with up to 3 people. You had to have like the Super Nintendo split controller thing, but you could play up to 3. I only ever remember playing with my sister though. I don't ever remember a third party involved. I've talked about this game on this channel a couple of times, and if you don't have a Super Nintendo, which I don't suspect a lot of people do, you can play it on this collection, and this is the collection of Mana. It has 3 games in there, one of which was already talked about with one of our people, Mad Kaiser, I believe, talked about Trials of Mana, but Secret of Mana is in this too. I haven't figured out a way to play it with multiple people, but there is a way. I know there is a way to do it because it does say 2-player on the back, so there is a way to do it. But yeah, so if you don't have a Super Nintendo and can't get your hands on an original copy, there is a newer way to play these games, and oh my god, this was such a great RPG. The wheel system was a little hard to figure out. The NPCs were a little hard to like navigate around. I will say that the NPCs definitely needed some help with the navigation, but because we didn't get help with the navigation on the NPCs, it wasn't like the best game. You had to walk around, pick up your NPCs. But other than that, this was an amazing game. Now, the next game I want to talk about is the Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. Oh my god, did I play and beat this game so many times when I was growing up. This was one of my favorite games. I probably could do a fast run through and like maybe like it'll kick back in all the stuff that I did way back when. If you want to play that game, I believe it's on the NSO, so if you pay for Nintendo Switch Online, you can play that game currently, and it is a way to play it, so you don't have to have the Super Nintendo again to play that game because it is on current consoles. So I would always recommend anybody, if you're a Zelda fan and you've never played the OG Zeldas, that is one of the best OG Zeldas back in the day. I will say, like, Zelda, growing up with Zelda, I guess this is my mom's favorite. So I grew up with Zelda. I played all the Zelda games, and this was just like one that I would go back and forth. It's an action adventure game. It's not an RPG, but such a good game. Such a good game. I loved it so much. And the last one, and my top one, if you are a viewer of the channel, you are no stranger to my top pick, which is Final Fantasy III, which is actually Final Fantasy VI. Oh my god, this game I played and beat so many times on so many different consoles. I beat it on the Super Nintendo a couple of times, on the PlayStation a couple of times. I am working on a playthrough on the Nintendo Switch version of it. So I have this game so many times, guys, and I will say it is one of those games that I know how the game goes. I want to finish it because then I will finish the whole Final Fantasy collection. But this game, if you were there when the game came out and you saw like the mechs walking in, and like that cutscene right there, the mechs walking in the snow, it's like iconic. The opera scene, super iconic. All you had a cast of, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 16 characters. I might be a little less than 16 characters that you could have and play with. And I don't remember having a game with so many casts of people that were so different from each other. So many different perspectives on how to play the game, and so much dialogue in each gameplay. It made for an amazing experience. Guys, if you've never tried it, pick up the collection, because that is the only way to play it currently. Or if you have the old way of playing it, I think it came out several consoles. I think you can get it for the Super Nintendo, you can get it for like a DS, you can get it for the PlayStation. Obviously, you can get the collector's editions, or you buy them singly on the eShop if you'd like. That right there is my favorite Final Fantasy to date. I know I haven't played them all, so I can't. That's what my grind on Final Fantasy is for. I haven't played them all, so I can't say like for sure that that's my favorite. But as of right now, as of the day of recording today, it is my favorite JRPG that I've ever played, and that is saying a lot for a 90s game. Guys, I'll have the date put down here when it came out, but super great game. I remember buying this with my sister because I couldn't afford it on my own. I don't remember paying too much for it, but yeah, one of my favorite games. And do not sleep on this Final Fantasy. If you are a JRPG fan and you have yet to play it, play this game. Such an amazing experience. And guys, I want to thank all my content creator friends who came out and shared their experiences with their picks on the channel. I want to thank you again, and I hope you subscribe to their channels. And if you're not subscribed and you're coming from one of their channels to see the collab, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe in the bottom below, and we will have another one of these videos coming out eventually for another console. I like this idea. I love collaborating with my content friends, and we love having them on. So thank you guys for watching. Happy gaming, guys. Bye.